How many of you have ever been called retarded? How many of you have ever heard the word retarded being thrown around casually, or even called something you found annoying retarded? Well, my hope today is to show you how the use of the word retarded or retard goes way beyond its actual meaning and has actually become an insult that warrants the removal of its usage from our vocabulary. In fact, according to a 2006 American Heritage Dictionary, it is now used in everyday language to imply a person is foolish or socially inept. The term was originally used as an official diagnosis. Someone had a mental retardation as an ailment. This was not who they were, this was not all they were. This is just a word to describe their ailment. By using the term as an insult, as it has come to be used in modern times, you are turning someone else's reality into a shameful and derogatory experience, far beyond their reality. Controversy about the use of this word has erupted in the media over the past decade. An article in the Washington Post says that it has been used by Rahm Emanuel and Sarah Palin, much to the chagrin of the disabled community. In fact, according to Parents.com, the Special Olympics took it upon itself to eliminate the word and even make a national awareness day about it. They began a petition fueled by the catchy title, Spread the Word to End the Word, which is now a 9-year-old campaign. The website where this can be found, ourword.org, reports the progress of the campaign to bring respect to everyone, including people with disabilities. People on the site share their stories having to do with the word and how it should be taken out of our use as an insult. When children who are retarded or are high-functioning enough to recognize when the R word is being improperly used and hear the word being said, they're both insulted and feel excluded. By hearing the word used in such a derogatory way, it makes them feel like there is something bad about them that is worthy of insult.
It's not acceptable to call me a nigger.
It's not acceptable to call me a spick.
To call me a chink.
To call me a fag.
It's not acceptable to call me a kike.
And it's not acceptable to call me a retard or call yourself or your friends retarded when they do something foolish.
The R word is the same as every minority slur. Treat it that way and don't use it.
Spread the word to end the word.
This controversy touches on the issue of stigma and oppression that we spoke about in class in relation to people with disabilities. We discussed how a stigmatized trait sets the barrier apart from the rest of society, bringing with it feelings of shame and isolation. Because the term retarded now comes with the stigma of the person being an idiot or lowly, instead of just a clinical definition, it makes people with disabilities feel both shamed and isolated, as we saw in the video clip. It is in this way that this example touches upon all 5 components of stigma that we spoke about in class, which are labeling, stereotyping, separation, status loss, and discrimination. I read a very informative article by Christopher Fairman that goes on to say that 48 states have voted to remove the term mental retardation from government agencies and state codes. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now use intellectual disability in place of mental retardation. The diagnostic manuals used by medical professionals also embrace intellectual disability as the official label. Behind the changes is the belief that retardation does not communicate dignity and respect. In contrast to this, there was a 2013 New York Times op-ed entitled A Word Gone Wrong. Lawrence Stowens, who argued, I know people who care about language who do not see themselves as heartless and who do not see retardation as anything to get worked up about. To them, banishing the R word for another clinical sounding term is like linguistic Febreze masking unpleasantries with cloying euphemisms. With all due respect, Lawrence Stowens is very wrong on this matter. There have been a whole host of academic studies and ensuing articles disagreeing with Lawrence Stowens. In fact, 2 professors at St. Cloud State University wrote an article entitled, The Uses and Implications of the Term Retarded on YouTube. In it, in order to determine how the word retarded is currently used in popular culture in the United States, they analyzed 100 randomly selected YouTube videos with the word retarded in the title. 5 themes emerged from these videos. A. The traditional use of the term retarded. B. the use of retarded in humorous texts. C, the use of retarded to insult or criticize. D, the term retarded as a substitute for other words. And E, the slang use of retarded in a hip-hop context. The researchers concluded that the coexistence of these multiple definitions is an unprecedented situation in the history of disability terminology. Lawrence Stowens is wrong. It is not just a clinical term anymore. It has morphed into something new, and it is frankly offensive to use in the context of everyday conversation. Maybe Stowens was right in the past. Indeed, the word did have clinical connotations decades ago. But despite this historic trend, the current situation now exists. There are multiple meanings to the word now, which makes its use highly offensive to someone who has disabilities or someone who has worked extensively with people with disabilities. I've had personal experience of just how offensive the word can be. I had a rabbi who taught Bible studies when I was in 12th grade. When the teacher announced that there was going to be a test in 2 weeks, there was one student who was outraged. "This was retarded," he exclaimed. The look on my teacher's face I would never forget. His face turned red, and the usual mild-mannered, soft-spoken rabbi was very frazzled. He screamed at the kid to get out of the class. He said, "I just want you to know that I have a daughter with Down syndrome, and you throwing around that word like that, like it's some kind of joke, is so offensive." The student was shocked. He didn't even know this personal information about the teacher, but never used the term again. Through the campaign, Spread the Word to End the Word, 553,721 people have pledged to not use the R word, and it's so easy to join this movement. Once a word has morphed into a different meaning, a meaning that has negative connotations, it should not be used anymore. Why should the disabled community suffer or be insulted because we throw around the R word as an insult or lazily say the phrase without blinking an eye? In fact, there are already alternatives out there, such as developmentally disabled or as a person with a developmental disability. For example, the ARC, the Primary Parent and Family Advocacy Organization for People with Intellectual Disabilities, no longer uses the term mental retardation because it was offensive to too many people. Instead, in their mission statement, the ARC uses the terms children and adults with cognitive, intellectual, and developmental disabilities. In addition to this, the American Association for Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, the primary professional organization in the field, uses the term developmental and intellectual disabilities. The alternatives are out there, and I believe as a society we should shift and alter our language to stop the use of the word retarded. We should remove this word from our lexicon entirely. It is our responsibility to break this trend. It is our responsibility to do our part, however small that may be, to make an accepting environment for those with disabilities. It is our responsibility to once again find a new term that addresses their issues while still giving them the respect they deserve.